an infection.
India and China to hold fifth Corps commander level talks today at Moldo. Talks to focus on complete disengagement by China along the LAC. Flood situation in Bihar continues to remain critical as number of affected increased to 49 lakh in the state. Water levels in Bihar, Budhi Gandak continues to flow above the danger mark. In Assam, the flood scenario shows signs of improvement. India's case fatality rate improves further to 2.15%. Number of recovered inches closer to the 11 lakh mark. Genome sequencing of the 1,000 corona patients completed to help researchers determine the effects of the virus in various regions of the country. Globally, Mexico surpasses United Kingdom to become the country with the third highest number of deaths due to COVID-19. USA worst affected with over 1,57,000 deaths, closely followed by Brazil with over 93,000 deaths due to the pandemic. Global cases tally nears 1 crore 80 lakhs. In sports, BCCI to hold its governing council meeting today to decide on the IPL season 13 this year. Issues of IPL venue and sponsorship to be the main focus of the meeting. Good morning, welcome to English News. I am Anil Thomas. Now for the stories in detail. Starting first up with India and Chinese Army commander level talks will be held today to discuss the disengagement at the Pangong Tso and the Deep Sang area. The meeting will take place at Moldo on the Chinese side of the LAC. This is the fifth Corps commander level talks between India and China since the standoff began in May. Well, for more on that story, Nandita Daga, correspondent, joining us this morning. Nandita, we have heard that this is going to be a long-drawn process of disengagement. We are into the fifth level of commander level talks. What's expected across the table today?
Anil, actually, this meeting, which is the fifth since the standoff began and fourth since the July 15th bloody clash at Galwan, this meeting will focus on Pangong Tso, the disengagement at Pangong Tso. As you know that on Finger 4, our troops have amassed, and also the Chinese troops have crossed, which the Indian perception of the LAC was that the Chinese, the LAC runs through Finger 8, and this is the Chinese troops are here at Finger 4. Also, Anil, on Thursday, the Ministry of External Affairs had made a statement that the disengagement is not yet complete. So therefore, this meeting is expected to be long one because the Pangong Tso area is tricky. The disengagement has already happened at Hot Springs, Gogra and Galwan. So therefore, we are expecting that the Corps commanders, which is on our side Lieutenant General Harinder Singh, and on the Chinese side Major General Liu Xin, and they are expected to talk on the disengagement at Pangong Tso, which is, nobody is expecting it to be easy. It is expected to be very tricky because the Chinese have withdrawn from all other areas except Pangong Tso, and they are showing unwillingness to go to India. What India wants is that the status quo ante be restored, which means that the position of the troops which was on which was there in April of this year be maintained. Something which the Chinese are showing reluctance to do, and that is why this Corps commander meeting is being held on the Chinese side of the LAC. The corresponding point on Indian side is Chushul, and Moldo is the meeting point on the Chinese side.
Okay, yes. Nandita, put this into perspective for us. The July 5th phone calls between the special representative, or the conversation between the special representatives on the border issue, and the meeting of the the Corps commanders that continue. We are into the fifth level of talks.
Yes.
How do they both go hand in hand?
Yes, Anil, actually this is a three-pronged process. When diplomacy takes place, it is When two nations deal with each other, they either deal with each other militarily, and that is why this is the initial stage when military to military talks are being held. This meeting which is taking place
Okay.
at Moldo today is an example of that. The second point is diplomatically, and the third point is politically. Now, we have seen political initiatives from from Prime Minister Modi, when and of course President Xi Jinping of China, when the Wuhan and the Mamallapuram informal summits were happening, and now they have left it up to the diplomatic and military levels if for it to be resolved. And on the diplomatic level, our National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, he was of course meeting with Mr. Wang Yi, who is the
True.
state councillor for the Chinese Communist Party, and also the foreign minister. And this is the military to military talks. Also, headway military to military talks are there for taking care of the nitty-gritties. For example, the maps, the positions, the armaments, the arms and ammunition, what the Indian Army wants. This is actually the first stage. And only when it is not resolved militarily will it go up to the diplomatic. And then if it is not resolved diplomatically, then it will go up to the political leadership, which includes Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping.
Okay, and also in the simmering tensions that's existing there, as talks takes place, how do you see this particular pan out? We've heard that it's going to be long and it's going to take time, but is there a time frame that these kind of talks have? At the end of the day, when do we see China coming back to that original level of de-escalating, complete de-escalation, and coming back to that the old process of de-escalation, and moving out of those eastern Ladakh areas that they are there?
Yes, I understand your question, Anil. Actually, the Corps Commander meetings on June 22nd, June 30th, and of course July 14th. These three meetings which happened after the July 15th Galwan bloody clash in Galwan, June 15th bloody clash in Galwan. These meetings stretched very long. For example, they even went up to the wee hours of the morning in more than 12 hours. Sometimes they lasted more than 14 hours. So we are expecting that since this is a tricky issue, the withdrawal at Pangongso, and therefore we are expecting it to go on for a long period of time, especially into the wee hours of the morning today.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us with those inputs there. We'll be closely tracking that story across the day, and we'll be coming to you for more inputs on that particular story. Thanks once again, Nandita, for joining us this morning. Well, moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the new education policy, saying it emphasizes on making job creators instead of job seekers. The Prime Minister asserted that attempts are being made to transform intent and content of education in the country. The Prime Minister was addressing the finale of the Smart India Hackathon. He said the role of the youth is very important in achieving the goal of ease of living to give a better life to the poor.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with the participants of the Smart India Hackathon through video conferencing. He said the new education policy 2020 announced earlier this week emphasizes on interdisciplinary study, which will ensure that the focus is on what the students want to learn. The role of the youth is very important in achieving the goal of ease of living to give a better life to the poor.
ये एजुकेशन पॉलिसी जॉब सीकर्स के बजाय जॉब क्रिएटर्स बनाने पर बल देती है। यानी एक प्रकार से ये हमारे माइंडसेट में, हमारी अप्रोच में ही रिफॉर्म लाने का प्रयास है। इस पॉलिसी के फोकस में एक ऐसे आत्मनिर्भर युवा का निर्माण करना है जो ये तय कर पाए कि उसको जॉब करनी है, सर्विस करनी है या फिर एंटरप्रेन्योर बनना है।
New education policy announced recently has been framed keeping in mind the aspirations of the youth of 21st century of the country. PM Modi said there is now systematic reform in India's education system and an attempt is being made to transform intent and content of education.
India's national education policy reflects these spirits. We are shifting from the burden of the school bag, which does not last beyond school, to the boon of learning which helps for life. From simply memorizing to critical thinking, the national education policy reflects the aspirations of young India. It is not process-centric. It is people-centric and future-centric.
The Prime Minister further said that the new policy is also dedicated to the thinking of Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar, in which he said that the education should be accessible to all. He also said that with the new policy, the Indian languages will progress.
हमारी भारतीय भाषाओं में कितनी ही समृद्ध रचनाएं हैं, सदियों का ज्ञान है, अनुभव है। इन सब का अब और विस्तार होगा। इससे विश्व का भी भारत की समृद्ध भाषाओं से परिचय होगा और एक बहुत बड़ा लाभ ये होगा कि विद्यार्थियों को अपनी शुरुआती वर्षों में अपनी ही भाषा में सीखने का अवसर मिलेगा।
In the last few years, there is an emphasis on innovation, research and entrepreneurship in every field, and also to bring positive changes in the lives of the common people. PM Modi called upon the youth to come forward for this.
स्मार्ट इंडिया हैकेथॉन के माध्यम से भी बीते सालों में अद्भुत इनोवेशंस देश को मिले हैं। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि इस हैकेथॉन के बाद भी आप सभी युवा साथी देश की जरूरतों को समझते हुए देश को आत्मनिर्भर बनाने के लिए नए-नए सॉल्यूशंस पर काम करते रहेंगे।
The first round of Smart India Hackathon 2020 saw participation of more than 450,000 students. This year, the grand finale is being held online by connecting all the participants together on a specially built platform across the country. Over 10,000 students are competing to solve 243 problem statements from 37 central government departments, 17 state governments and 20 industries. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Well, let's now take an update from the flood-affected states of Bihar and Assam. Moving first to Bihar, where there's been no respite in the flood situation with 1,043 panchayats across 14 districts of the state still affected. The flood-affected population has also increased to 45 lakh people there being affected. Over 4 lakh people were evacuated from flood-affected areas by 29 NDRF and SDRF teams undertaking relief and rescue operations. Munger, Darbhanga, Samastipur and Purnia are some of the worst affected districts of the state. The catchment areas of Nepal have received heavy to moderate rainfall during the last 24 hours, and the Met Department predicts light to moderate rainfall in the catchment areas of all the rivers located in Nepal and Bihar in the next 2 days. Flood scenario in Assam is showing signs of improvement with no new loss of human life reported in the last 24 hours. However, 20 of the 33 districts of the states are still affected by the flood waters. Over 10,62,000 people in 1,295 villages are affected by it. The number of relief camps in the state is 122, where 29,220 people are taking shelter. 55% of the Kaziranga National Park is still submerged. There have also been reports of flood and erosion due to Beki River in the Manas National Park in Baksa district. Social Welfare Minister of Assam, Promila Rani Brahma, visited the flood-affected areas of Kokrajhar and took stock of the situation on ground zero. In Uttar Pradesh, preparations for the foundation stone laying ceremony of the Ram temple in Ayodhya is on in full swing. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath will today visit Ayodhya to take stock of the preparations. This will be the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister's second visit to Ayodhya in a week. Preparation for decorating the whole of Ayodhya is also being carried out under the supervision of Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. On Saturday, several areas of Ayodhya were illuminated with diyas and colorful lights. Moving to something tragic, the death toll in the Punjab Hooch tragedy rose to 86 on Saturday. In a massive crackdown, the state police conducted over 100 raids in 3 affected districts of Amritsar, rural Gurdaspur and Taran Taran, along with several other places in and around Rajpura and Shambu border. 17 more people have been arrested in the case. The total number of arrests in the case have gone up to 25. This includes a mafia mastermind, a woman kingpin, a transport owner, a wanted criminal, and owners and managers of various dhabas from where the illicit liquor was being supplied. The police also seized large quantities of raw material used to make country liquor called lahan from various villages and dhabas in the region. The raids have exposed a massive racket of illicit liquor. 3 dhabas on Shambu and Banor and Rajpura in Patiala have also been sealed. As much as 750 liters of lahan was also seized from village in Bagora. 2 people were identified as Satnam and Rushem, who have been arrested from Bagora, while another Lakhwinder has been identified as a culprit. Meanwhile, the Punjab Chief Minister Amrinder Singh has ordered the suspension as well as inquiry against 7 excise and taxation officers and inspectors along with 2 DSPs and 4 SHOs of Punjab Police in connection with the Hoosh tragedy. He said whoever is found guilty will not be spared. The Chief Minister has also announced an ex gratia of 2 lakhs for the families of each deceased.
आज एक होर हादसा साडे पंजाब दे विच होया जिहदे विच मैनूं बहुत अफसोस है। ਅੱਜ ਹੁਣ तक 86 ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੀ मौत हुई है ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਾੜੀ शराब पी के और ਉਹ होनी नहीं चाहिए सी। ਇਹ ਅਣਗਹਿਲੀ है साडे पुलिस की और अणगहली है साडे एक्साइज डिपार्टमेंट की जिन्हां ने ਇਹ होण दिता और जिहदे करके ਇਹ मौतां होईयां ने।
In a tragic incident in Visakhapatnam, at least 11 people were killed when a huge rail-mounted crane collapsed during a trial run at the Hindustan Shipyard Limited premises on Saturday. 9 people lost their life on the spot, while 2 more workers died on their way to the hospital. 4 of the victims were employees of HSL, while the rest belonged to a contracting agency. An inquiry committee has been formed by the state government to look into the reasons of the accident. Meanwhile, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh expressed condolences over the loss of lives in the accident. He said he was extremely anguished by the loss of lives at the facility and his thoughts are with the bereaved families. He also wished speedy recovery to the injured, and the Defence Minister also informed that a departmental inquiry committee has been instituted to establish the causes leading to the accident. A look at the numbers, especially from India when it comes to COVID-19. As per the latest data released by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the mortality rate has declined to 2.13% in the country. A total of 11,45,629 people have recovered in the country so far. With this, the recovery rate has also risen and is now stands at 65.44%. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan has announced the successful completion of pan-India 1000 genome sequencing of SARS-CoV-2. He also launched the largest network of 5 dedicated COVID-19 biorepositories established by the Department of Biotechnology in record time. He dedicated them to the nations. Complementing the relentless efforts of DBT, Dr. Harshvardhan said that this information is important for public health response initiatives requiring investigations into the transmission of COVID-19. The sequence data will be released in the global initiative on sharing all influenza data to be used by researchers across the globe. Information in the database will improve the understanding on how the virus is spreading and will help to interrupt the transmission chains. The Department of Biotechnology launched a pan-India SARS-CoV-2 RNA genome sequencing program in May. The consortium of participants have achieved its initial goal of completing the sequencing of 1,000 genomes from nasophryngol and oropharyngeal swabs collected from those tested positive for COVID-19. The main purpose of these biorepositories are archiving inactivated virus and clinical samples. Meanwhile, 16 vaccine candidates are in different stages of development. The BCG vaccine is undergoing phase 3 trial, while the DNA vaccine is in phase 1 and 2 trial, and 4 vaccine candidates are in advanced stages of preclinical study. Minister of Health and Family Welfare Dr. Harshvardhan said that the testing will not only help India but researchers across the globe. The government has decided to increase the scope of a 3 lakh crore window for individuals who have availed loans for business purposes. Under the improved scheme now, truck owners, CAs, doctors, etc. who have taken loans for business purpose can apply for this credit line. Under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, Cabinet approved the special window for MSMEs until the 20th of May. Out of the 3 lakh crore, 1.37 lakh crores have been sanctioned and 87,000 have been dispersed so far. Finance Ministry hopes that with this new window credit of 1 lakh crore, it will be extended to all beneficiaries. Let's now take a look at the global COVID-19 updates from across the globe. COVID-19 cases continue to rise at the global level. The COVID-19 virus has claimed the lives of over 6,88,000 people worldwide, while over 1 crore 80 lakh people have contracted the infection. Over 1 crore 13 lakh people have also recovered from the virus. US and Brazil remain the worst affected in terms of COVID-19 infections and fatalities. US has so far recorded 47,63,000 cases and over 1,57,000 deaths, while Brazil has crossed the 27 lakh mark and recorded over 93,000 deaths. An outbreak of COVID-19 spread to at least 44% of staff and campers at a sleepaway camp in the US state of Georgia. The outbreak occurred at the Camp High Harbor in Rabun County. 260 children and staffers tested positive for the virus. The camp followed most of the CDC's recommendations to mitigate the spread of the virus, including segregation of attendees by cabin and enhanced cleaning and disinfection measures. But campers did not follow rules to wear cloth masks. The overall infection rate of 597 campers and staff was 44%, with an infection rate of 76% among 344 of them whose results are available. Moving to South America's Mexico, which has become the country with the third highest death toll due to COVID-19, with only the US and Brazil recording greater numbers at present. 4,34,000 cases have been reported, while 47,472 people have lost their life against the pandemic. World Health Organization, meanwhile, has warned that the coronavirus pandemic is likely to be lengthy. The Emergency Committee of WHO met to evaluate the crisis 6 months after sounding the international alarm. The committee also warned of the risk of response fatigue given the socio-economic pressure on countries. The panel gathered for the fourth time over the COVID-19 crisis. The committee highlighted the importance of sustained community, national, regional and global response efforts. The committee has urged the WHO to provide nuanced and pragmatic guidance on COVID-19 reactions to reduce the risk of response fatigue in the context of socio-economic pressures. Moving to sports, the Indian government is yet to give the go-ahead for shifting the 13th edition of the Indian Premier League 2020 to UAE. It's been more than 10 days since the BCCI has applied for the government permissions, but the concerned ministries are yet to give the green signal to the league in UAE. Without the government's permissions, neither the league dates can be officially announced nor schedules can be finalized. The BCCI is in a complete fix at this stage. Neither the BCCI nor any other stakeholder involved can finalize the logistics for the league, which is just 48 days away. Without the official nod from the government, now there will be question mark over the relevance of the IPL Governing Council meeting, which is scheduled for today. The prime focus of the meeting will be issues of IPL venues and sponsorship. From police to doctors, nurses, paramedical staff, sanitation workers, state administration and municipal corporation, all of them came together under one single umbrella with one goal, and that was to break the chain of virus in Mumbai's Dharavi region. Dharavi witnessed a surge in COVID cases on a daily basis, but after a long fight, Dharavi succeeded in bending the curve of COVID-19 and setting a shining example to the world to overcome the pandemic together. हमने कर दिखाया है अब तुम्हारी भारी है. Let's listen to the song by the Dharavi Green Project.
धारावी में कोरोना को जड़ से मिटा दिए, इतनी बड़ी आबादी में भी हम करके दिखा दिए, हम बने एग्जाम्पल. अब आपकी बारी है, उम्मीद रखो सब कुछ होगा ठीक, फासले तुम रखो
Well, that's all we had this Sunday. Remember, it's a Sunday. You need to stay at home and see to it that you walk out the minimum out of your homes to break the chain. But in case you have to do not forget to follow the physical distance guidelines that you have. Also wear your mask, wash your hands and use the sanitizers at regular intervals. Remember, you need to stay safe to see a better tomorrow. Thanks for watching.